The subcommittee on the Western Hemisphere will come to order, and the purpose of this hearing is to discuss the rise of anti-Semitism in Latin America and the responses of the governments in the region to the ongoing war in Israel, and the impact of these responses on our U.S. foreign policy objectives in the region. In Latin America, what's happening in the continent, what we're seeing is an explosion of anti-Semitism. Specifically, 3 Latin American countries, Colombia, Honduras, and Chile, recalled their ambassadors to Israel shortly after Israel began defending itself. Chile, President Gabriel Boric just banned Israel from Latin America's largest aerospace fair. This is not the first time that these leaders, unfortunately, have spoken or have shown their prejudice against the state of Israel. Let me just give you another couple of examples. In 2019, Gabriel Boric, again, the president of Chile, returned a jar of honey the Jewish community of that country had sent to him in a gesture of friendship. And he said, "Why don't you stop stealing the land of the Arabs instead?" It is despicable, as I'm sure you agree, that the heads of state have these type of opinions. Today we have a witness from State Department who works on the issues of combating anti-Semitism globally, including Latin America. The Honorable Deborah Lipstadt is the Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism for the Office of the Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism at the State Department or at the Department of State.
The Western Hemisphere has become a key focus of our efforts, my and my team's efforts to combat rising global anti-Semitism for quite some time. My deputy, Aaron Kiak, and I have visited numerous countries in the region since my swearing in to convey the message that the United States government takes anti-Semitism seriously and urges governments, communities, law enforcement to do the same.
So you are the American representative. Okay. So, what are the consequences for a Petro or a Lula or a Zelaya to be insulting Israel, one of our most important allies in the Middle East? Do they think that there is going to be any type of consequences from the American government if they were to behave that way? So what are the consequences coming from the United States to these countries if they continue attacking and creating this anti-Semitism situation in the countries?
We continue to call them out. The further consequences, my colleagues in the State Department, I hope follow up, we expect follow up on that, but we let them know that this is something we take seriously. You can't just make statements like these and think, okay, I can get away with it. In fact, one of the things we say in combating anti-Semitism, when other heads of state, foreign ministers, ambassadors ask us what they should do, one of the primary things we say is the head of the government, the leaders, have to call it out unequivocally, immediately, and without reservation.
And you understand that those, and I agree with what you're saying, but they have been invited to the White House and they have been treated very nicely, even though some of those leaders in Latin America, even though you're sending that message. So it's contradictory.
When we encounter them, especially if they have made such outrageous statements as they have made, and as you have indicated and I've indicated as well, that this is not something that we find acceptable. Many of the statements which you have referred to, which I have referred to, cross the line.
Thank you. Cross the line. So then what are the consequences when you cross the line? That's what I'm saying, not just scolding you.
Well, I would hope that there will be, that they will get the message that this is something, if they want to work with the United States closely, this is not something that redounds to their benefit.
I want to make sure our ambassadors are not just speaking out. I want them to be forcefully screaming about this.
I think they are. I think they also are meeting privately. I'll give you an example of a case I know better, Chile. Our ambassador there, Ambassador Mihan, arrived in Chile on just the day after, I believe it was, but very close proximity to when President Boric refused to, when the new Israeli ambassador came to the palace to present his credentials, and Boric refused to see him. An action not just don't come now, come later, but of major political significance.
Thank you, Representative. And I want to thank the ambassador for a magnificent job that you're doing. We very much appreciate the fact that you are not only an ambassador in title, but you're an ambassador in words and in actions, and that you're sending a very strong message to those who may not feel it, but the only thing that we could do is force them to behave well. I know how the Latin American countries feel when they have an American representative from the United States government. And even though they may not agree with what you're saying or what you're demanding from them, but they think about it twice before not going in favor of what the message that you're sending. So it's a duty from the Biden administration in you being the representative of the White House in sending that message to Latin America. It's despicable what's happening with Petro or with Lula or with Boric. You cannot say that about our #1 ally.